This is Strictly Business, presented by the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. Sponsored in part by the law offices of Young Wooldridge, San Joaquin Community Hospital.
Welcome back. I'm Jimmy Phillips, hosting today's show. We are joined by Jeff King of Barbich, Hooper & King to share a few tips on increasing your cash flow. Jeff, good morning.
Good morning, Jimmy.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Fantastic. It's a wonderful Monday.
Absolutely.
Let's get right into it. As the year wraps up, why is it important to get your billing schedule organized?
Well, there are probably a couple of things. Is that, getting the billing schedule organized, you really need to have a billing schedule organized throughout the year. It's probably critical for year-end purposes, but in order for a business to really operate effectively, manage their cash flow, the billing aspect is the lifeblood of their business, and you need to probably even take a few steps back from the billing process to ensure that the business has sufficient operating capital to continue to operate.
How would you say that early payment incentives can help people in the long run?
Well, most businesses need operating capital, and by the time you get your billing done, sometimes there's a 30 to 60 day time frame from the time you send out your bills to where you get paid. If you give your customers incentives to pay early, what happens is that brings that cash flow in a lot sooner. Not all businesses have adequate cash flow just from their normal practice. They could be using bank debt or something along those lines. So it's very important to, if you have those options, to get people to pay sooner, gets money in the bank, allows you to meet your obligations, maybe reduces your borrowing, and takes some of the pressure off meeting your basically your monthly obligations.
In terms of those incentives, which ones have you seen be both that are mutually beneficial for both sides and the most effective?
Most of the time you have folks that will offer, 2% within, 10 days or 15 days, something along those lines. And generally, it's been pretty effective. I mean, people will take advantage. If they can save 2% on their bill, then they're going to do it.
I would imagine, especially small businesses.
Absolutely.
Sure, that
yes.
would apply too.
Very true.
Why is it important to form a buying cooperative and not buy all in one space?
Well, whether you use a buying cooperative or have multiple sources of materials, particularly if you if you're selling products that are available in multiple locations, you don't want to be limited to where you're buying your products. If you have one supplier and that one supplier happens to have problems, can't deliver, you need to have backup. So a lot of times it's good to have more than one source for your primary merchandise.
So here's a question I'm about to get a new car, and I'm always going through this lease versus buy scenario. I know in businesses, employers and their groups have to decide in terms of a building space, equipment. How would you break down this lease versus buy discussion in terms of deciding what makes the most sense for your business?
Well, when you look at a lease as compared to going out and buying it, basically a lease is a financing mechanism. Mm-hmm. So it's really a matter of looking at cash flow, looking at the lease rates or interest rates that are employed there. Most of the time when you lease, you don't have to put down the big down payment that you might with the ultimate purchase. The key, though, is to look at what the ultimate cost of that lease is and whether it makes sense for you. But oftentimes a lot of businesses lease because they don't have the 20% down or 30% down that they might need to do that. With cars, particularly vehicles, that sort of thing, the technology changes, and most of those leases could be limited in terms of mileage, but on the other hand, it may not require the out-of-pocket dollars to get into that new vehicle that it would otherwise.
I know a lot of people talk about being able to get a nicer car too for the same payment if they were to lease.
Yeah, and you know what? If you understand the lease and the rates are good and you can stay within the mileage limits, and there are some leases that don't have so much, or they build a much higher mileage limit, but it's a good way to switch in and out of vehicles.
Can be peace of mind as well. A lot of times you're seeing now that the maintenance is covered throughout the duration of the lease. So I know that can be a little bit of a weight off your back sometimes.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Switching gears here, how often should your insurance and supplier policies be renegotiated?
Well, I think that probably depends on the business. Most insurance brokers and insurance folks, they're very good. I think it's something that you need to manage as a business person. You need to stay in touch with them, and you need to make sure that they're doing the things to shop the policies, shop the specific needs of the business. Most insurance brokers probably deal with a lot of the same insurance carriers, so then it's just a matter of trying to get the ultimate insurance company that fits your business needs and your cash flow needs. And I think most of the brokers, if they're doing their job, they will stay in touch with their business clients, and they will try to keep that up to date.
What other tips would you have to offer for, as we're in this time of the year where, businesses are starting to close out their books, and in some cases it's not necessarily even December 31st, because with the Christmas holiday in there, a lot of organizations close down between Christmas and New Year's. What other tips would you have for people as this year draws to a close?
Well, I like to look at it as a year-round process, and the key is not just looking at things at the end of the year. You want to make sure that you have a good accounting system, that you're getting good financial information throughout the year, so that at the end of the year, you know that the information you're getting is up to date and it's good. A lot of people don't pay as much attention on an interim basis. Of course, you get down to the end of the year, you want to make sure your books and records are up to date, because you may want to do some tax planning and see where you're going to go. There may be alternatives that you can use to get there, but more importantly, you want to make sure you have a process and a system in place to ensure that your records are good throughout the year. That just helps you at the end of the year to do your planning and what have you.
What are some pitfalls that people encounter when they do wait till that last quarter, last month of the year, and don't have those processes in place throughout the entire year?
Well, most of the time is people haven't kept their records up or have not gone through and done some of the reconciliations. They end up having adjustments, and maybe they haven't had as good of a year, or maybe they've had an even better year. And the key is that it's very important to keep your banks reconciled. And we talked about billing earlier. You want to make sure your accounts receivable is reconciled. You want to be staying on top of the aging of those to make sure that you don't have collection issues. And the same thing with making sure that you're taking care of your vendors, so that you don't have problems with your vendors. So there are lots of things. The main thing is it's the process, and you want to make sure that you have that process in place to ensure good accounting records.
So sometimes it's not even a matter of just getting those bills out or those collections made, but actually, if you don't have a good process in place, you may not be catching some of the problems, and then you may have to do a bunch of putting out fires in the last month of the year and going back and working with vendors, and I'm sure that can get tricky.
Exactly. You just don't want surprises, and the bottom line is to try to minimize those surprises. You want to make sure that your accounting records are good throughout the year.
So let's say I'm that person out there right now that knows I don't have those processes in place. How do I get started on ensuring that I'm ready and have a good process all year round?
Well, there are a lot of materials out there that you can go to and read, but there are also accounting firms out there, and the accounting firms, they have people that can help you with that. There's a lot of relatively inexpensive software like QuickBooks and so on. There are other folks out there that will help you do bookkeeping, but there are people there out in the community, in business, to help folks get their books and records, get the systems in place, and help you get into that process, and really help you get some discipline relative to keeping your books and records up.
Let's talk about that accounting software like QuickBooks. I know in the marketing space that I work in, we always talk about how there's all these citizen journalists now with social media. You don't even have to work for a news conglomerate to break news. Mm-hmm. Professional photographers are now anybody with a camera and Photoshop. Sometimes people think, I have QuickBooks, I can handle it. Where's the line there between doing it yourself and learning those systems, but also working with professionals that do this for a living on a daily basis? How do I distinguish what's best for me in my business?
I think it's a matter of how much self-discipline you have in terms of whether you will actually sit down and do the book work that you need to do. Some businesses are pretty simple, and it may be that you have a few bills and that you send out. You have a few bills that you have to pay. It may be simple as going through and summarizing what you have in your checkbook at the end of the year. You can use an Excel program. On the other hand, QuickBooks, pretty simple program, very user friendly. You can go through, and it takes a lot of the work out of it. You go through and you enter it once. You can even cut your checks, and you can send out your invoices and that sort of thing. But you have to have the desire and inclination to want to learn how to use it. If you don't, then there are people out there that do know how to use it, and they can help you, but there's a cost to that. So then it becomes a matter of prioritizing how you want to spend your money within your business.
What's the best way to learn in terms of the the software itself? If I'm a do it myself type of person, what's the best way to learn and find those resources?
I think they have some examples of the software out on their website that you can go out and you can probably do that. Try that there. You may know somebody who has QuickBooks, and they may sit down and be able to kind of walk you through it. And I think there are, the manuals that you can get a hold of. I think and internet. I mean, the internet has a lot of options in terms of showing you how to use things and giving you an idea of how it looks and how it works.
Well, let's get in a quick plug for your group, Barbich, Hooper, and King. What do you guys special in, and what can you help businesses out there with today that are struggling in this space?
Well, thank you for asking. We're a full-service accounting firm. We do accounting, auditing, tax work, business consulting. We do a lot of accounting services for clients. So to help people, we help them do their own bookkeeping, from payroll to billing to accounts payable, account reconciliations, and that sort of thing. So we pretty much do it all. We have a great staff. I have 4 other partners, and we have very good employees that very knowledgeable, and we're always more than willing to help.
And where are you guys located at?
We're in the Southwest, out off of East Commerce Center Drive in the Atrium Building.
And if someone's listening today, give us the best phone number to contact you guys at.
Best phone number is area code 661-631-1171.
Good number. Lots of repetitive ones in there.
There you
That's
go.
good. Any other closing thoughts for us as people end the year and we get into the holidays? There's only, we're 3 weeks left in the year now.
Yeah, I just think that the main thing, people need to make their accounting records a priority. And I think in the end, it will have a big payoff because they aren't scrambling around trying to figure out where they are, how well they did, or how well they didn't do. It really will give you a better peace of mind. And if they aren't disciplined enough to maybe do it on their own, look for a good professional to help them to get it done. And it may be that it gets to them to a point where they can ultimately end up doing it on their own. But I think in the end, they're not going to worry about it. There's no peace of mind unless you get it done somehow or another.
Yeah, just like we were talking about that peace of mind with your car. My battery went dead this morning. Had to get jumped. Just thinking, man, maybe I want that new car now. I don't know. Maybe it's my alternator. I don't even know what the problem is yet.
Right.
But same thing in finance. Definitely,
Yes.
Sometimes that peace of mind is worth its weight in gold.
Yes, it is.
All right, Jeff. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Great. Thank you, Jimmy. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Have a great holiday
Thank you.
season.
You too.
We will be right back.